Well, good morning, everyone. We're going to talk today about the experience age. Anyone heard of the term the experience age? Yes, show of hands. Thought I heard a yes. Couple of you. Okay, good. So the majority of you have not. This is good. We're going to have fun this morning. We're going to talk about what's different in the world of how we recruit, how we attract talent, how we engage talent, and it all comes back to the experience that we provide our talent that's with us, but also the candidates and the experience that they have with us or they don't have with us and how that impacts our employment brand. So you guys ready to go for that ride? Yes? Okay, good, excellent. So here's what we're going to talk about today. So how many of you have positions that have been open too long? So someone who raised a hand, tell me how long you've got a key position open. An ongoing one, okay, yes. 2018, you get the prize, pink sweater. I think you get the prize, okay? Wow, 8 years, whew, okay. Other amounts. I'm sorry? Year and a half, thank you. 12 months, year and a half, 8 years. Too long, right? Too long to have key vacancies out there hanging, and we'll look at what we can do about that. Okay, how many of you are understaffed to the point that you can't get your cross-training done? Any hands there? Okay, so what really hit me with this one was about a year ago, I was at a mixer, and the husband of a friend of mine was talking about, he works at a pharmaceutical company, and he has a team of 10, or at least that's what he's supposed to have, a team of 10. He has a team of 6 right now. And he was talking to HR and saying, hey, I'm kind of drowning here. What are you guys doing to get me the other 4 people? And what do you think HR told him? Hint, it's in this box. Cross-train them, right? Cross-train them. He says, well, how am I supposed to cross-train when I don't have enough people to do the work to begin with, right? And so it becomes not only an operational challenge for us, but certainly an employee development challenge when we're understaffed and we can't get people trained properly. And so finally, how many of you have the talent, like you've got an avatar, you know exactly what you're looking for, but you can't find it? Show of hands there, okay? Now, when I say an avatar, I'm not talking about the fact that you've got a defined job description. I would hope so. What do you think I mean by the talent avatar? Dream person. So give me some qualities of a dream person for you. I'm sorry? Good work ethic, thank you. Shows up to work. Okay, let's start with the basics. They show up to work. This is a good thing, right? Yes, okay, good cultural fit, thank you. I'm sorry? Showing up to work, yeah, showing up to work, yeah. Well, what else? There's got to be some other things in there that make a perfect talent fit for you. Okay, so the right experience and education skill set, okay. Oh, adaptable, I like that. Good communicator, thank you. So, someone who can work as a team. Now we're getting somewhere, right? Now we can build an avatar when we know those traits, okay? And so to me, knowing those traits, the cultural fit and the adaptability and the teamwork, all the things that were mentioned here, go into what it means, to me, talent really means. Because for the most part, we can teach skills, right? For the most part, yes. Someone in the back said we want the right set of experience and education. Sure, there's got to be a baseline. But we can work with the right person. In fact, I'd be willing to bet if I put your perfect avatar in front of you and they had a little less experience than you might like, you'd probably say, yep, let's go. I'll train the experience. Is that a fair assessment? Okay, cool. So we're going to look at how we word our job descriptions, how we word our job postings, how we present the experience that the right talent that we want will click, right? So we put it out there, they're reading it. Maybe they're not even looking, because in many cases, the talent that you just described to me is probably not even looking for work. They're employed somewhere else, which means you have to prove that your grass is greener than where they're at, right? And if we don't do that, they're not going to look. They're not going to respond to an ad. They're not going to look our company up. They're just going to keep doing what they're doing. And so our employment brand has to be better than the employment brand and the experience they're getting from their current workplace. And that's the crux of what we're going to talk about today. So what we're going to discover is why today's top talent, and this whole session is about top talent, okay? Why they're craving a different experience and what we need to do to deliver on that. So talent has expectations before they ever apply for a job today. Candidates are much more discerning, and we're going to look at why that is. Next thing we're going to look at is how we have to reposition ourselves as HR people. What we need to do differently in order to attract the talent that we want. Because in many cases, we are our own worst enemy in how we do what we do. So as an HR guy myself, when I say we need to change, I mean that. Like how we approach the recruiting process has to change. You guys know it's a buyer's market, right? That's not going to change anytime soon. We know, all the statistics show, the talent shortage, not people shortage, but the talent shortage is real, and it's not going away in the foreseeable future. So thinking we're just going to ride this out and eventually things will swing back to our side, sure, the pendulum always swings, but it's not swinging back anytime soon. And so we can't stick our heads in the sand as HR people. We have to adapt and change, and that's what today's presentation is all about. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about how all of you can buddy up with your friends in the marketing function, okay? Because a lot of what we're going to talk about today has marketing principles to it. And it's funny because I was recently sharing this presentation and someone came up to me after it and said, Ed, I can't stand our marketing person. Like, what do I do? And I said, okay, well, let's figure out a way around that. Like, how do we build that bridge? Because we need to learn from them. And in many cases, we're going to have to partner with them, especially if you're in a highly regulated environment. So one of my clients is a bank, right? Highly regulated. HR has to go through marketing for anything they're putting out on the website, all of that for compliance purposes. So we had to create that bond between those departments. And finally, I believe in Monday morning activities. You come to these conferences, you get this huge download, right? What are you going to do with it Monday morning when you get back? I'm not going to stay in theory. We're going to talk about actionable items here in the next hour that you can take back immediately and start to use. So let's hop in here. Take a look at the pictures I've put up on the screen. What do they have in common? Positivity. They're selfies, they're happy. Activities, interesting. We're getting somewhere. Travel, people-focused. All of these folks are sharing their current experience with us, right? We've got people that just did one of the color races. We got a gal who's really loving on her ice cream. We got a guy, I'm really not sure what he's doing. He kind of looks like he's hanging off the side of a building, but he may be, right? So these people are all having experiences, and they're sharing them with us. And if we're connected, if they're our buddies, and we're connected to them on Instagram, Facebook, or whatever other social media you're connected to them, you're going, whoa, you're actually doing that. Where's that ice cream joint, right? Like you're asking questions about the experience that they're having. And that's the big change in how we use social media, how we use the internet. It used to be that we went to the internet for information. It was static. We did a search, boom. How many of you, when you do a search now, go to the images or the videos around the topic you're searching? Show of hands. Several of you, right? Because you want to know what the actual experience is, not just the information. And that's the key point the inflection point that has moved us to the experience age. We're all looking for the experience behind what's going on. How many of you look at restaurant reviews before you go to a new restaurant or when you're traveling? Absolutely, we all do it, right? You get on Yelp or Open Table, whatever it is. You start looking at what other people said. They post pictures, all kinds of stuff, right? You look at the menu, all of that, because you want to know what you're getting into. You don't want to spend your hard-earned money and your time going to a restaurant or some museum or what have you and not be guaranteed to have a good time. So when we think about this concept, and then we think about how we choose to recruit people, what's the difference? If I go to your company website right now, what will I see? I'm sorry, say it. Words. A building. Great. I hear that a lot, the building, see the building, and it always takes me back to Tom Hanks' movie Big, and they were designing the building that turned into something. He goes, well, what's fun about playing with a building, right? Like it always takes me back to that, and I think, what's fun about looking at a building? Now, maybe you have a really pretty building, but what does it tell me? It doesn't tell me anything. And so we have to come back and say, okay, wait a minute. What on our website is drawing people to us? Because I guarantee you, your website is 99% set up to drive customers to you. Is that a fair assessment? I've got to know. What's your setup to do? Oh, most people don't come to your business. Can I ask what it is? A jail. Oh, well, you... Nobody wants to go to the jail, right? So, depends. It's 3 square meals a day and a bed. I mean, So, I'm almost speechless because no one has ever said, it's jail. Like, it's the sheriff, yeah. So, this is true. Like, do I want to go to your jail or someone else's jail? Like, that's probably not what I'm thinking, right? Do I want to do local time or federal time? What's it going to be? So they house them both. So the point is, right, that most of our websites, when I go to them, your careers page is somewhere buried, right? Sometimes I have to go look for it just to find it. And then what do I get when I click on your career page? Be honest. Words about what? The job, right? Looking for a custodian. Here's what a custodian does. Really? Like, do we think that most people don't know what a custodian does? But we'll list it, right? You'll hear about the benefits. Nothing wrong with that. What else you got out there? A big logo. Great. Someone say culture? So there's stuff about your culture. Excellent, A+. Because that starts to tell me a little bit about the experience. Now, again, if it's just words on the page, that's getting us halfway there. We've got to get to this. We've got to get to the videos of our people doing the work that they're doing. Maybe even interviews, short little video snippets with some of your people saying, hey, I love working at the jail because, right? I love working at, this agency because I love work, right? And it can't be contrived. It can't be scripted. It's just got to be real. And you guys know the people who love working for you that would be able to get on camera and just say, man, this is a great place to be. And here's why I'm here. Here's why I'm here for just the last year. Here's why I'm here for the last 20 years. Whatever it is. The full gamut is really what people want to see out there. That also makes great social media fodder. Putting that stuff out through LinkedIn and any other channels that you're using to recruit people. So we'll come back to that concept here. Now here's the shift, right? And this is what we really, really have to understand. Okay? These phones are our windows to the world. So think about what happened during COVID, right? We're all hunkered down and we start buying on Amazon. How many of you bought something, say, online for the first time during COVID? There's one hand, a couple hands, right? Maybe you never really thought about it before, or you went to a company website. Now all of a sudden, we're getting DoorDashed and groceries delivered. And the amazing thing is, and as an old UPS guy, like I get logistics, I'm still amazed that you can plug something into Amazon like today, it shows up on your porch tomorrow, right? It is amazing. So our concept of service has changed. Our expectations have gone way up in terms of what we want for our customer experience. Now, what does that have to do with the employee experience? They're starting to mesh. Our viewpoints are starting to mesh. That what we want as customers and how we want to be catered to is coming into the workplace in the form of our employee experience and what we want to experience out of our employer. And I'll give you some examples of that in a moment. Okay, these phones. How many of you have double-checked that everything that's on your website plays properly on your phone? Only a couple of hands. There's your first piece of homework. Check the mobile friendliness of your job postings. Because sometimes, especially if you're using a third party to post your jobs or they're going through a third party website, you're now relying on that third party that they're mobile friendly. Go out and check on it. Because if it's not mobile friendly, you're frustrating your customer, which is your candidate. Are they likely to keep digging to find you? Nope, they won't. Because we don't do it as customers, right? If you go to search for something and you click a couple of times and you can't get what you need, what do? Look for something else. Go back, try a different search, try whatever. Now, I travel a lot for work. So that means that, unfortunately, I eat out a lot. What's something that I do when it comes to restaurants? I want to look at the menu. So any restaurateurs in here? People work in hospitality? No, nobody? Seriously? Wow. So, yes, I want to see the menu. My pet peeve is restaurants that don't have their menu mobile friendly. It's like a picture, okay? Now, I've got a pretty decent sized cell phone, right? Like this is, it's a nice sized screen. But if I got to blow it up because you just have a static picture, and then what happens half the time when you blow it up? It gets distorted, right? So immediately I'm like, well, I'm not going there. I can't even read the menu. I don't know if they have what I want, right? I end up going somewhere else. Our candidates are doing the same thing. If they can't get the information that they want in a timely manner and easy, someplace else. So we have to recognize that candidates are using their phones to research us and to apply for work with us. So is our application process set up for mobile interaction without hassle is the asterisk. And finally, this whole idea of service has changed, right? I just touched on it a little bit ago. What we expect out of our experiences with businesses is changing. And so again, that's coming through in how we apply for work, how we look for work, and how we experience our work. So this idea of how we cater to our customers and how we cater to our employees and our candidates is really starting to mesh. And the principles for engagement of both those parties are almost identical. And that's where we as HR folks have to start to marry up into marketing and look at what marketing's doing to drive customers to us, because that's the exact same principles that are going to drive candidates to us. It's the exact same principles that are going to keep our people working for us and realizing that the grass is greener. You've all heard that term before, right? The grass is greener on the other side of the fence. Do you know why that is? Why the grass is greener on the other side of the fence? Because what? Because it's watered more. Could be. Could be, although it looks really green on the golf course out there today. It's because we can't see the weeds from far away. It just looks green to us, right? You look over at your neighbor's yard, you're like, look how pretty that is. But you're mowing yours and you're seeing every dandelion, every crabgrass, because you're right there. People are the same way. They see all the weeds in your workplace. They don't see it elsewhere. Now, we are always going to have weeds in the workplace, okay? But what we have to do is make them see that the workplace is also very green. We've got to continually sell our people on the experience. So let's head there. This connecting people with experience and not just information, there's your silver bullet, okay? So what are we delivering as an experience with our people? Bless you. Now, you might say, oh gosh, Ed, well, during football season, people can wear a jersey on Fridays. Okay. Hey, Ed, once a month, we have a birthday cake and pizza party for that month's birthdays. Okay. Those are engagement tactics, and engagement has a place in experience, but what is the employment experience really all about? Thank you. Day to day. What happens in my 8 to 5? What's a bad day like? We all got them. What does that look like? How do I get through a bad day? What qualifies as a bad day? Do they outnumber the good days? That's a problem. The bad days outnumber the good days. So all the little things that we do to keep our people engaged absolutely have a place in what we're doing. But make no mistake, they do not constitute the employee experience. Your annual holiday party does not constitute the employee experience. The company picnic does not constitute the employee experience. It's everything about what happens during the course of my employment that constitutes my employee experience. And that's why we can't think of this as a checklist of activities that we do. Because it's all about how well our people are trained. How are they treated by their supervisor? They have the right tools and equipment to do their job. Do we make their job easy? If you get into safety, do they have a safe place to work? It's set up ergonomically that we're not hurting them throughout the course of the day. All of these things come together and blend in to make the employee experience. So it's a very holistic look at what working in today's work environment really means. And so we're seeking these sources of experience and information, and that's why static web pages and static job postings don't cut it anymore. If you want to stand out, I need to see the smiling faces of real people, not model clip art people, real people that are working for you, smiling with quotes, getting a short video with them with quotes. Hey, we're looking for people to do X. I do that for us, and here's why I choose to do it for ABC Company. Do you know how powerful that is? Can you imagine the power of that? If I'm looking for that kind of work, and I'm considering your place of employment, and I start to see videos out there of current employees talking about what it's like to work there and the experiences that they're having, it reduces by far the likelihood that I'm going to be scared off by something else or attracted to something else, right? That's going to speak to me. And the companies that are doing that well, I'm going to give you one example in a little bit. They've got people lining up to work for them. And while the example I'm going to give you is kind of a big player and you're all going to know the name, we can do it as the little boys too, right? You don't have to be the big boy on the block to do these things. We'll look at how. So why should we care, right? Because people today have short attention spans. Us included, we all have short attention spans. What have you done for me lately? That's what employees are asking. What have you done for me lately? Because the pizza party you had Friday, by Monday morning, gone. It's gone, okay? We have to recognize that as HR folks. And we also know, if those of you that plan parties and events, right, that you can't please everybody with the party or event, can you? There's always somebody who's got something to say, right? Like, I always feel bad for people like Nan and Sue, right? They plan this. And there's 200 some of you in here, and something's not going to be to the liking of one or two of you. And that's fine, right? There's no way they can plan for 200 people and please 200 people. It's impossible. We try to do the same thing in the workplace, right? We try to please everybody. We can't. But we need to learn from the people that we're not pleasing, because they're the people that are going to leave. And the challenge is if they're our top talent. So when you start to think about, okay, I want to move into the experience age, I want to put some gas on the fire here, people will ask me, well, Ed, who do I start with? I always say, start with two things: your key positions, the most critical positions to your mission being achieved, and your top talent. There's where we start this whole process. We get those two things right, then we can start to push this out further. I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit. Okay? We have to think of employee experience as a business priority. So this is not a program. This is not a project. This is not something that we say, oh, I liked what that Crow dude said, so I think we'll do this. Let's put it a 6-month time frame. Here's what we're going to do. 6 months, done. No. It's a change in process. It's a change in culture, and we're going to look at what the cultural implications of this are here in a moment. But we have to be prepared for a journey, because if we start interviewing our employees to get their views on what it's like to work for us, what are we going to uncover? I'm sorry, I can't hear it in the back. Someone said something back there. Go ahead. Going to hear stuff you don't. You're going to hear the weeds. We're going to hear the weeds. And we have to be willing to hear about the weeds so that we can either fix them, or if we can't fix them, we look at how do we make the experience better despite the weeds. How do we get them focused on the overall green lawn instead of just the weeds in the lawn? I was talking about a similar topic to a group of assisted living administrators. And one lady I could tell was not buying into what I was saying. And she finally raised her hand. She said, Ed, what you're saying sounds good, but you have to understand, in assisted living, we don't have sexy positions. I said, okay. I got a daughter who's a nurse. I get it. She works in an assisted living facility. I know what nurses in assisted living facilities do. And if you want to call them unsexy, okay, we'll run with that. But let me ask you this. Do you think that anyone who goes into nursing and decides to do geriatric care doesn't know what they're signing up for? I really don't think so. Do you think the person who goes to trade school to learn to be a welder doesn't know they're signing up for dirty, hot work? Do you think the person that signs up to be a plumber doesn't know what they're getting into? I mean, let's be real. If you're sitting there saying, well, gosh, all this sounds great, but my work environment, we're kidding ourselves, and you're leaning on a crutch that you've got to get rid of. Because if people are going to, even the jail, right? You hire nurses in jail, right? You hire security folks. Who else do you hire? Maintenance, infotechs. Pretty much you're running a business, right? And so there may be people who are attracted to, aside from security guards, right, who, again, know what they're getting into if they're going to work in a jail, that there is a reason perhaps they may want the benefits that are associated with working for a state-run agency, right? Because benefits tend to be a little bit different. Maybe there's a pension involved or whatever. So they're willing to take some more weeds because of some of the other trade-offs. It's part of the experience, okay? And so if you're sitting there saying, yeah, but, Ed, I'm going to ask you to open your mind up, throw the crutch away for a moment, and just say, okay, I've got this hand that I've been dealt in terms of the kind of work that my company does. And it may not be, quote, sexy work, but how do I put our best foot forward so that our avatar candidate says, hey, I'm doing that work and I prefer to do it for you guys, because those folks are out there. So we have to look at our business process. Because our business processes get in our way. And in HR, we love processes. Why do we love processes so much? Come on, we can have some fun with this. It's okay. We like structure. I'm sorry. Keeps things on track. Maybe there's some compliance concerns, whatever. But here's where a process gets in the way, folks. A friend of mine is in banking. Chief lending officer for a credit union, decides he wants to make a move, starts interviewing. Gets down to where he's in second and third interviews with two institutions. One of them, the one that would be his second choice, makes him an offer. Decent offer. He's really, really attached to the first choice. And he said, Ed, what should I do? I said, get on the phone with the recruiter and be honest with him. Tell him the situation. You have another offer. You would really prefer to keep things moving with them because you're more attracted to them. What's the rest of the process look like? He did it. Here's what happened. He said exactly what I told him to say. The HR person said, well, we don't know when we'll wrap the process up. I said, okay. And he says, they told me that it could be several more weeks to wrap the process up because I have 4 more interviews to go through. Like 1, 2, 6 interviews. Seriously? 6 different, get them all in the same room then, right? Now, maybe he was not a top candidate for them. I'm willing to admit that. However, you have someone who's fully qualified, who clearly you want to keep in your process, telling you, I would like to stay in your process because you are my preferred employer, even though I've got this offer over here, and you tell them, we have a process. Sorry. He took the other job offer. A month later, they called him for his 3rd interview. I already started with this other company. I told you guys that you were my preference. Now, you all laughed at that, right? But you can relate to that. Maybe you've done it. Shh. Okay? I had a client hiring their first director of HR. And this was a privately held company. They've got 5 satellite facilities across the country, so the owner would be on the road a lot. And the HR person was going to report right into the owner. Great situation, right? And I wasn't running the search for them, but I've been doing some other HR stuff and helping them kind of vet some of the candidates. And we got down to where we had 3 really good people. Where did the process stop? With the owner, because he's always on the road. And he'd say, well, I'm back in town in 2 weeks, set him up for, like, wait, what? You've got great talent knocking on your door. They have interviewed with your HR generalist, so they check all the basic boxes. They've interviewed with your director of ops, who's your right-hand person, who's given them the blessing. And now you want to make them wait 2 or 3 weeks till you get back in town and your schedule clears up? They went 0 for 3 because none of them waited around for that owner to get back. And they have to start their process all over again. And I looked at that owner and I said, you have to get out of the process or you have to make it a priority, one or the other. And if that means that you have to interview them on Zoom while you're sitting in a hotel room, then that's what we do. But you cannot wait like this. You will not find a candidate. 2 years till they made a hire. All because of him. Doesn't make any sense to me, right? We all have processes like this. We got to get rid of them. If they're not serving us in how we're pulling talent in, we have to get rid of them. Pull the Band-Aid off. Now let's talk about culture for a minute. Well, more than a minute, because culture is important. Maybe you're sitting here saying, Ed, this is all great, but my grass is full of weeds. Like, there's more weeds than grass, Ed. we need a whole overhaul on the lawn. Okay. So then let's look at our culture. I believe that you can talk about the experience age. You can put people out there for the experience that you've got currently, knowing full well that your culture is not what you want it to be. It's okay. So we need to start with focusing on a few business outcomes, and that's it. I had the CEO of an assisted care facility that I was brought in to help coach and mentor because he was failing. And he was on the verge of being fired by the board. And so I'm sitting there in his office, I'm talking to him, and I said, tell me what you are measuring. Like, what do you hold yourself accountable to doing? And he told me to turn around. And on the wall was this huge, I don't even know how he did it. Like, he put together a bunch of different pieces of paper from spreadsheets. He was tracking 30 different items. And I'm looking at this, I said, so you are personally handling all 30 of these items? He said, yes. I said, that's why you're failing. I felt like John Taffer. Like, this is why you're failing. You're putting it on the wall. You cannot master 30 things. Can't. Some of those things were very important and should have been pushed out to his executive team. But we can't say that there are 30 things that are absolute must for how we run our business. There have to be just a few concrete things that our people can buy into in order for them to stay focused on. None of us can stay focused on 30 things. Then we start working on the emotional commitment. Recently, I had someone raise his hand and said, we got this nailed. I said, what do you do? He said, we're a homeless shelter. Like, if you're not committed to helping the homeless, you stick out like a sore thumb in our organization. And that's an advantage that not-for-profits have because they draw, hopefully, the people that are driven to that sort of mission to work there, right? But can we do the same thing with our mission? How many of you know your company's mission statement? Be honest. Only a few hands are going up. It's pretty typical what I see, okay? So as HR people, if we don't know our company's mission, how's the rest of the organization know our company's mission? And if they don't know it, they cannot be emotionally committed to it. It's impossible. And it can't just be, oh, hey, look, it's there on the wall. It's on the boardroom wall. Okay, that's great for the people that go into the boardroom. What about everybody else? Now look at number 3. It's what we've been talking about. What's the experience? So the lesson here is that until people are emotionally committed, they will not commit to the experience and changing the experience or living the experience or talking about the experience. In fact, quite the opposite could occur. I was working with a privately held medical practice. These docs were specialist surgeons, and if you had the issue that they treated and you lived in their region, you went to them. They were the best. Their culture was in the tank, and their CEO called me. He's a non-doc, and said, Ed, first off, I think HR is actively inhibiting my ability to grow this business. Whoa. Those are fighting words, right? And second, he said, the docs aren't helping. They're making everyone miserable. And so I started talking to some of the employees, and it's exactly what I heard. I heard things like, well, I love the patients, but the docs, I can't stand working with the docs. Can't stand being in the OR with them. Can't stand being in post-op with them. Can't stand being in client intake with them. They're miserable. Okay? Talked to one gal, she says, I've been here for 6 months. So cool. She goes, I just got a letter in the mail offering me a job. I said, you mean like somewhere else? No, here. I said, what, like a promotion? No, a job, Ed. How does that happen? How do you think she felt? She's been there 6 months and is getting a job offer. Now, I get stuff happens. I get it. We cannot allow that kind of thing to happen. Can't. Now, I just earlier said we got to get rid of processes. But to me, there's a lack of process somewhere, right? Processes have their place. I'm not anti-process. I'm anti-processes that don't deliver what we need them to deliver. That's what I'm anti. Now, I already told you one of the secrets is where you start with the highest impact roles. Think right now about the people or the positions that have the most impact on your bottom line and your customer service delivery and who they are. There's your answer. And I'm willing to bet they're not all that far up on the org chart. This is not an org chart exercise. We don't worry about making the boardroom a better place for the execs. Guarantee you they're doing just fine up there with their experience. Somewhere else, could be the front line, could be the middle team, whatever it is, that has your highest impact roles. Now, I started with UPS when I was in college, and I worked on the docks loading the brown trucks. Non-customer facing role, but a very high impact role. Because if I load the truck incorrectly, driver can't be efficient in his or her delivery routine, which costs the company money. Might cost you getting your package or not. If I put your package on the wrong truck, you're not getting it the day you're expecting to get it. High impact role, not customer facing, but has a direct impact on the customer experience, other employee experiences, and the bottom line. So again, look at your unsexy roles because they might fit the high impact piece. Next up then becomes behavior change. What behaviors are you willing to accept in the workplace? So if you think about your workplace right now, what kind of behavior is accepted and celebrated? People who come to work every day, we're back to that. Okay, I get it. To me, that's a basic job function we're paying people for. We should not be celebrating the fact that people showed up today. Just one man's opinion, okay? Being a team player. So we talked about that earlier, right? That's a behavior. It's a behavior I can see and I can lean on. What else is celebrated in your work experience right now? Maybe I'm using the wrong term in celebrated, but what kind of term would you use to describe someone who has the right behavior that you want to reward? Positive attitude, I like it. Taking initiative, okay? I'm sorry? Tenacity. I thought you said nasty at first. I'm like, well, if that works for you, that's okay. Tenacity, okay? Someone said something else? If they go above and beyond, do something extra, right? We could go on and on. We know the behaviors we want to see in our team. We know it. But does everyone else know it? Do they know that these are the kinds of behaviors that we want to see that are going to make you successful in our organization? That fit our avatar, right? And if we can fit our avatar, we'll find that we've got employees in our workplace right now that are our avatars. Now here's where things get a little bit tougher for us. We've identified all the basics. We've set up the foundation. This cannot be an HR project. I'm a big believer if you're going to change culture, it has to change through the people that are living it every day. So that's where citizen-led innovation comes in. Your people have to be the ones that come together and lead this. Yes, we've got a guiding hand on it, but they have to be the ones to lead it. Because they're the ones living it every day. They don't view us as living their experience every day, and rightly so, we don't. We can empathize with it, but we don't live it. So let's let them, with certain guardrails, plan out the culture that's going to make a successful work environment. Because they know the kinds of people they want to be working with. They don't want to work with duds. They want to work with really good, committed people who are team players and have tenacity and take initiative and on and on and on. So let's let them help build that. Now, I mentioned earlier, this is a comprehensive journey. When you start to dig around in the experiences and you start to hear some of the weeds, you're going to start fixing weeds. What's the problem with weeds? They keep coming back. So when we pull a weed, what do we have to do? Got to get it to the root, and what else? One other key step. Plant the positive grass. Because if we have a bare spot, there's another weed coming in there. That's why the term grows like weeds, right? Boom, they just appear. We're like, what happened? okay? So we've got to replace it with something. It's not enough to pull it, even by the root, and leave a bare spot there. We have to sow good seed in there, which is another good person, right? Not just, oh, hey, you got a pulse? Hired. We do it. You got managers that do it. Person has a pulse, hire them. Hey, they're showing up for work every day. Yay! Meanwhile, they're miserable. They don't do anything that we ask them to do, but they show up every day. We have to ask ourselves if that's really what we want. Are we really willing to settle for that? Is that really what we're all about? Is it really contributing to the bottom line, or is it hindering our bottom line? These are questions from an HR perspective we should be challenging our executives on. Cultural influencers. These are your peers. These are the people who are living the culture every day. These are the people in your workforce, when they speak, the rest of the workforce listens. How many of you know your cultural influencers right now? Several of you. If you don't, you better figure it out. And if you've got a break room, a cafeteria, it's the best place. Walk in there sometime and see who's talking and who's listening. They'll tell you everything you need to know. Because I guarantee you, the people that are talking are not always talking about the things you want them to talk about. Some of your biggest cultural influencers could be people influencing the culture in a negative way. My first promotion at UPS after college was to be a delivery supervisor. And so that involved, dispatching drivers, but also doing their safety rides and such. And I had a guy in my work group who was miserable, absolutely miserable driver. Just would not talk to management. I mean, it's a union environment, so there's some of the headbutting going on. Would not talk to management. If you had a tie on, he hated you. I don't take the word hate lightly. I mean, he just did, And so it came time for me to do my annual ride with him. I'm not looking forward to these 9 hours. Like, this is going to be miserable, right? And so he delivered in an industrial park very close to the building. 5-minute ride. He says nothing to me. 5 minutes. Again, it's kind of what I expected. We get to the first customer. Hey, how you doing today? Hey, did your kid win his ball game last night? What's going on? I'm like, wait, who is this guy? Like, I felt like I was looking at Linda Blair in The Exorcist, right? Like, his head spun around and someone else came out the other side. Like, I'd never seen this guy like this before. And then we get back on the truck, silence. Next customer, exact same thing. I'm like, holy cow. He's not miserable with the customers. Loves the customers. So we get to lunchtime, and I start talking to him. He says, I'm on lunch break. I don't have to talk to you. Which is true. Technically, it's true under union contract. So I said, okay, I'm going to put you back on the clock. I'm paying you for your lunch, and we are going to talk. And I did. And I said, I want to know what I did to create the animosity with you. He said, nothing. So, okay. Then why the animosity? He goes, I hate all management. Okay? But you just said I never did anything to you. Why are you taking that on me? And here's a story he told me. And this is something we really have to think about from a cultural perspective, because he was a cultural influencer. So UPS provides the drivers with their brown uniform. And so, if it started to get worn out, they'd put a requisition in, give me a new, shirt, pants, whatever, okay? 2 days later, new stuff would show up. And he, like many of the drivers, took a lot of pride in their appearance. And so he fills out a requisition. Nothing happens. Week goes by. Shirt's torn. Fills out another requisition. Nothing happens. Now another shirt's getting torn. Fills out another requisition. 3 times over the course of about 6 weeks, he fills out requisitions, does not get shirts. Is that a problem? Yes. Some would say this is a problem, right? And I said, well, I'm really sorry that you experienced that. And I don't take it lightly. It's a crappy thing. But when did this happen? 15 years ago. I said, 15 years ago, I was in 3rd grade. Like, why are you taking it out on me? But that was his view. Management let him down. And while I was able to crack a little bit of that facade over the 1.5 years I was his supervisor, I never got all the way there. But I did get to the point where he would say good morning to me when he was off the clock. I mean, that was something, okay? But we have to remember, our worst employees from an attitude perspective, there's a reason, and we may have been the cause of it, okay? Now, number 9 is the toughest. What do we do with the people who, quote, won't get on the bus with us, right? So you know the metaphor, right? We have the right people in the right seats on the bus going the right direction. We all know this, okay? But there are some people who are not going to get on the bus. They're going to stand there at the bus station and not get on. What do we do with them? Get them on a different bus. Ship them out, right? The bus has to leave the station, folks. And this is where, from a business priority, we have to ask ourselves, is it better to have this seat empty than to have the wrong person in it? Only you can answer that. Amen. Right? Some of you will say, no, I got to have someone in that seat, Ed. Okay, fine. I'm not going to debate that. But what's having that person in that seat really costing you? Is it costing you more than the vacancy? Only you can answer that based on what your organization's doing. Now, there's an even worse person than the person who won't get on the bus. And that's the person who stands in front of the bus. Won't let the bus leave the station. What do you do with them? I'm not advocating violence. But the bus has to leave the station. So my view is, people say, run them over. No. I picture the school bus with that big arm that comes out, right? Just sweep them out of the way, and then the bus leaves the station, okay? But the bus still has to leave the station, folks. We can't let 1 or 2 people hold us back from what we're trying to achieve for 98% of the population. And so finally then, we have to recognize that, the bus may, just like GPS, right? Every now and then it gets a little wonky. It tells you to go down a road. You're like, but I don't need to go down that road, okay? That can happen. We just course correct. We pull it back, and we come back around. It's okay. We just can't course correct every other month. We can't do a flavor of the month thing. That's no good for anybody, okay? So that's those 10 steps. That's a long process to look at every piece of your culture. But it is a process. And we have to look at all 10 of those steps. And those 10 steps, depending on where you're at in that process, could take several years. Again, this is a journey. But I guarantee you, if you start it, you will start to see improvements very quickly. You don't have to complete this process to see the benefits of getting the right culture in place that gives your people the experience that they desire that will then turn into the right candidate experience, okay? And so I'm not going to read this to you. It's in your handout because I'm breaking every rule of presenting by filling a slide with text. But I only do it so that you have it in your handout. It is an amazing list of the old versus the new way of doing things with a piece-by-piece look at this is how we used to do it, here's how we have to do it. So I put that out there for you as more homework to read through and to discuss at your next department meeting or exec meeting or what have you. So we talked about the fact that engagement is not experience, right? Experience is the blend of here's what the employee expects and here's what we expect as an organization. And to the extent that those things overlap, that's what creates the employee experience. It's not the pizza parties and everything else. All that's partly the engagement, right? We talked about that. But it's where those two things come together. What we want to provide as an organization, what we're all about, and what that employee wants. When those two meet, the magic happens. And so when we think about it, what we're really talking about is the brand promise. Just like the brand promise you have from a marketing perspective. Why should people buy from you? Well, why should people come to you for work? What is your brand promise? If I go back to that medical practice, their people were telling their friends in the medical community, don't come to work here. Go across the street to the hospital. You'll make a little bit less money, but you'll be happier. That was the brand that was on the street. Bad news at that point. Really bad news. No way you're getting top talent if that's your brand. So that solid marketing brand is important. But if we don't recognize that if our people are not having the right experience, they can't deliver on the marketing brand, we're missing the boat. No matter how good your website is and the pamphlets and all the wonderful stuff that marketing does for you, if your people aren't living it to provide that marketing brand, what else are we in business to do? So they have to have the right experience in order to deliver on the brand that your marketing team is promising. And so when I think about it, the marketing brand is almost entirely dependent on our employment brand. Because with that medical practice, how long could they stay at the top if they're not pulling top talent in? Even though the docs are the best, they have to rely on the other people, the nurses and the PTs and the receptionists and everybody else that makes the business hum. And if those people are miserable, those are the first people you're meeting before you ever get to the doc. So they realized eventually, thankfully, that we've got to fix our employment brand or we're going to lose our marketing brand. We're going to lose that we are the best in the region. So what does your brand promise? And now I'm talking about your employment brand. Are you promising something you can deliver on? Because that's authenticity. That I know what I'm getting into when I am filling out that application. I know exactly what I'm getting into. If we're not being authentic, we're not sharing the skeletons that we have, and it's okay to share them. Some folks hide them, keep them in the closet. I had a client who had a really bad culture, and we're working through this, and the vice president said, Ed, what do we do? Like, we've got a really bad environment here. And I said, we're going to be honest with our avatar candidates. And we were. We sat there in the interviews and said, look, we are not perfect. In fact, we showed them the weeds. And we said, we need your help to help fix this. Are you willing to go on this journey with us? And every one of them appreciated it. Did every one of them say, yeah, I want to get involved? No, of course not. Is that okay? Yep. Because what happens if we hide the skeleton and we hire them? They're going to find it and they're going to leave. So we have to be willing to be honest with ourselves and our candidates about where the weeds are and that we're asking them for help in solving the problem. It's absolutely okay. Now, how many of you know Patagonia? Y'all heard of this brand? Absolutely, right? They're one of the most famous brands around. Go to their website. This is your homework. Go to their website. Go to their careers page. It's not just a page. It's almost its own website. Please don't do it now. but go to their website. It is amazing the language they use on their website to talk about what the experience is like working there. You know they do all kinds of outdoor wear and gear, right? So you go to their careers page, it talks about, are you an outdoor loving, are you an avid rock climber? Do you love roughing it in the wilderness? Do you this? Do you that? Well, we want you to help with our mission. And then it goes on from there. It is amazing. And again, I get it. They're a big player. I get it. But it's a simple message. It's a real simple message. They've got a whole culture deck out there. It's like 100 slides about what it's like to work for them. There is no doubt, if you do your homework on Patagonia, you can decide before you ever click send on your resume whether or not you want to work there. And they have no trouble finding talent. So that's your next piece of homework. Go out and check that out. There's the blueprint, okay? So, as we're wrapping up here, we have to know that candidates are going to look us up. What's the message that they're seeing on LinkedIn versus YouTube versus Instagram or wherever else you're putting stuff out? Is the messaging all the same? If it's not, it's going to be a problem. If it is, you're reinforcing your brand. But they're going to research you, just like you research your restaurants or what have you. They're researching you too. And ultimately, what they want is real-time updates. So if your company was just helping out at the United Way Day of Caring, goodness, get that stuff out there, right? They want to see that you're active, you're involved, you're doing these things. So the real-time updates, you're out at a recruiting fair. Hey, we're out at the recruiting fair. get all of that out there. The more you can keep updated, the more it's telling those candidates, hey, we see they're on top of things. It's not a static web page. It last has a blog post from 1989, right? And I've seen crazy stuff like that. Tells people you don't care. So here's your human capital value chain. This is why we do all of this, okay? You guys have seen this before, that it starts with engaged employees, which help the customers, and the customers hang out, and we get a healthier bottom line. That's why we do this. It's not just obviously about providing that employee experience. It's all about getting that customer back in and helping our bottom line. That's how you're going to get something like this approved. So what we covered what today's talent really wants. We talked about things we can do to change the company and what we need to do to build an employment brand. Those are the three big things we hit today. So while we're doing that, can I answer any questions? I know I'm asking you to multitask.
How do you overcome negative reviews on social media?
Oh, that's a great one. So they're going to be out there, okay? And much like a restaurant, we have to respond and say something effective. I'm sorry that you had that experience. We didn't deliver what we wanted to deliver for you. We are working hard to fix X, Y, Z, and we wish you well in your future endeavors. Acknowledge it. Yeah. Because they're going to be out there. Yes.
So, I mean, 90% of your reviews that you're going to see on job reviews are going to be former employees,
Yep.
which that are just unhappy. Generally the same experience when you go to restaurants. Generally someone who had a negative experience going to leave a review. So how do you combat those level of bad reviews by asking your employees in a way that's not awkward to leave reviews whilst their employees there?
Yeah. It's exactly what you just said. So the question was, if you've got a bunch of bad reviews out there, what do you do? That means you've got to counter it with good reviews. You've got to get current employees out on those websites, those same websites, saying, hey, our experience is great. Sorry, you didn't have the experience. This is what I'm living every day. That active employee putting that out there will far outweigh anything that a past person has done. So with that, I want to wrap up. Final thought, there's your roadmap. It's the last slide in there. It's a top secret one that did not make it into your handout. So you are going to get this. There's your roadmap to start Monday, making things happen at your companies. I thank you so much for having some fun with me this morning, and I wish you a great rest of the conference.